For anyone watching this, the date is April 30th, 2025. My name is Peyton. I'm 19 years old, 20 if I make it another month. I use he, him pronouns, and the US government has decided that I shouldn't exist. Or at least most of them have. Tomorrow, on May 1st, 2025, US legislators begin to vote on whether or not transgender people should be forced to detransition or else be arrested. Most of what I'm doing right now isn't allowed. I'm not supposed to be wearing this clothing, but for now, that's only a fine. I'm definitely not supposed to be doing any of this. I'm not supposed to be making this video. What's going to happen to me depends on the vote tomorrow, which is an absolutely terrifying thought. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want someone to know what we were like. All my people, everyone who felt a little out of place with the body they were given. My fate, our fate, is in the hands of a bunch of old white men who hate me, a young man who just happens to be transgender. How ironic is that? I want to make more videos about this. I want to tell our story and how all of this happened, but I guess that depends on where I end up after tomorrow. I'm trying to stop watching the news for a little bit. I don't want to keep seeing politicians publicly declare their support for this bill. One even decided to refer to it as the mutant ban, which is great. The news stations are alternating between interviews and rallies held in support, interspersed with announcements on the current existing laws. Those have been happening for months. I'm almost used to them at this point. Anyways, I want to enjoy what is potentially my last day of freedom. Raise a glass to freedom, and all that. Cheers, y'all. For anyone still watching this, the date is May 8th, 2025. It has been a week since US legislators voted almost unanimously to force transgender people to detransition or else be arrested. The legislators who disagreed were jailed almost immediately after the vote. I couldn't do it. I think some part of me knew that since the vote was first brought up, but I couldn't even consider detransitioning. It would have killed me. So I ran. I'm staying hidden in a friendly house. I won't tell you their names. I don't want them to be in danger. With the vans roaming the streets and going into homes where people were registered transgender, I had to leave as fast as I could. I guess I had known this was a possibility for a while. I had discussed it with my fiancé and gotten into contact with the owners of the house I'm staying in. They used to be part of a transgender rights activism group before all the members started being beaten and killed. Now they're sheltering me and trying to get me in contact with the network. It'll take a few months, but maybe I'll get out of here into a friendlier territory. Some countries in Europe have established themselves as safe havens. My fiancé is waiting for me there. For the sake of anyone watching this, I hope you're there too. For anyone watching this, the date is May 15th, 2025. It has been 2 weeks since US legislators voted almost unanimously to force transgender people to detransition or else be arrested. It's hard to believe that all of this started from some people not being able to understand the concept of trans people just trying to use the bathroom. It seems like a fairly simple concept, right? I'm a man. I interact with men more, and I feel more comfortable interacting with them, so I would use the men's bathroom, and I look like I belong there more. Everyone involved in that situation is more comfortable with me using that bathroom. The same concept really holds for trans women. They would use the women's bathroom because that's where they feel more comfortable, and usually it looks more like they're going to belong there, and that's what the people they interact with use. Most of the time, the people around us don't care in the slightest, and they just do their business the same as we do. Apparently, that concept wasn't as clear to lawmakers, though. They just started calling us all sorts of awful names. Before I had even turned 18, we were already perverts and peeping toms. child molesters, rapists, just for using the bathroom we felt more comfortable in, and that most of the people around us felt more comfortable with us being in. It shouldn't surprise me that that was the first thing to go. About 2 years ago, a month before I turned 18, they passed a law saying we had to show our IDs to enter any public bathroom. They literally just sat someone outside it, and they had to check our IDs before we were allowed to go in, which was crazy. And the gender on the ID had to match the bathroom we were entering. That didn't work too well, obviously. It wasn't that hard to get the gender on your ID changed. So they passed another law, forcing us to show physical proof that we belonged in the bathroom. And at first, at least, some of the activist groups and parents cared enough still to tell them, there had to be a restriction on this. So they weren't allowed to look at chests, they weren't allowed to look at anything below the waist, so we trained our voices. We wore heavy makeup when we needed, we dressed as far to one side or the other as we could. And eventually, I guess the group stopped caring. They passed another amendment saying that everything was fair game, and most of us just stopped trying to use the bathroom at that point. I think there was a record number of urinary tract infections at the urgent care centers for the next few months. I guess I don't really have to worry about that anymore. I can't leave the house to go to school or to go to the shop anyways. I do have my own bathroom here at least. Maybe I'll put a sign on it so that anyone can use it. For anyone watching this, the date is May 22nd, 2025. It has been 3 weeks since US legislators almost unanimously voted to force transgender people to detransition, or else be arrested. If you're watching these videos, I think you'll know what this is, but in case you don't, this is a binder. It's supposed to give the chest a more masculine appearance by compressing the tissue, which is illegal now, I guess. We haven't been able to buy them for over a year now, but there wasn't anything really against wearing them if you already had them at first. Or at least nobody was taking them. Nobody was finding us for them, and they really could not do a lot about stopping us. Binders were supposed to be a holdover point between coming out and getting top surgery so that you wouldn't have to compress that tissue anymore. They were safer than trying to cut off things yourself or wrapping your chest in ace bandages. I hope all of you know that's not safe. Please. I hope you all have other options, because you could seriously hurt yourself, but binders are all we have now, to remember the hope that someday we wouldn't need them. All those surgeries have been illegal since a few months after the final bathroom bill. It took a single vote to crush the hope that so many of us had. Now we only have a few banned items to remember what we wanted someday. We have our binders to remember the chests we wanted and packers to remember everything else. As long as we stay hidden, we can keep a little bit of hope. Maybe if we get out, we can get those things someday. Maybe if we get to Europe, there's still hope. The chances are getting lower with every week, though. At least I have this to help me remember. For anyone watching this, the date is May 29th, 2025. It has been 4 weeks since US legislators almost unanimously voted to force transgender people to detransition, or else be arrested. It took a little longer to pass a ban on hormone replacement therapy than it did to pass a ban on surgeries. I never managed to get that far, but I don't know how much use it would have been if I had anyways. There isn't a way to hide supplies of estrogen and testosterone for that long. There isn't a good way to keep finding sterile needles to use when you're in hiding. So I still have the hormones I was born with, unfortunately, like many of the transgender people my age. Somehow that never really stopped me from taking on the same hygiene routine as any teenage boy, though. I don't naturally grow a lot of facial hair, but I grow a little bit like most humans do. Keeping it shaved down helps me hope to maybe pass when I leave here someday. It's also something that helps my mental health a lot when I'm bored. Sometimes that sort of routine that I built down here is the only thing that keeps me sane. I've learned to entertain myself through stuff like this. And anyways, they can't really take it away, can they? For anyone watching this, the date is June 12th, 2025. It has been 6 weeks since U.S. legislators almost unanimously voted to force transgender people to detransition or else be arrested. I've tried to keep entries consistent, but it's getting harder. I have to hide a lot more quietly now, and I have to be a little more hidden. On the bright side, I got some yarn and knitting needles with my food delivery this week. That's really exciting. I don't know what to knit with it yet. Maybe a tie again? Maybe a scarf? That was fun. And also maybe a little bit illegal at this point. Soon after they managed to ban all of the medical procedures, they began to ban clothing. It was a similar path to banning the bathrooms, but a lot more terrifying for some people. You weren't allowed to wear any clothing that did not traditionally match the gender identity on your ID. They published entire lists and posted them up everywhere. They were online in public buildings and schools. There was no way to pretend that you didn't know or hadn't seen one of them. Not that it really kept people from trying. They even made videos, eventually, to run on the televisions and streaming services. Some government agency worker in a suit and tie would appear on screen and start listing the items of clothing you couldn't wear if you were marked as one gender or another. It hit everyone really hard. Anyone who had already had their ID changed tried to use that to justify how they dressed. That was before they started changing the IDs back. I think the whole bathroom issue brought them to the edge of it all, and this sent them over. If you couldn't provide physical proof that you were the gender on your ID, they got rid of it and changed it back. Thousands of people got new ID cards sent to them with any prior changes removed. The old ID cards just weren't valid anymore, and that's when people started to get really scared. I don't think it had hit any of us what was really happening yet, until we realized that the government had already started changing us back without any warning or any consent. A lot of the people I knew stopped coming to school that week. I stopped going a few weeks later when it got to be too much. I didn't even make it a full semester of college, but at least I managed to graduate with my name. I guess that isn't really valid anymore, but they can't take it away from me when I have the only paper copy. Anyways, I think I'll make some sort of scarf or tie. For anyone watching this, the date is June 19th, 2025. It has been 7 weeks since U.S. legislators almost unanimously voted to force transgender people to detransition, or else be arrested. I got some new books this week, so I'm happy about that. I'm starting to grow a little collection of things to do down here. I have my phone in the charger. That's how I'm filming any of this and communicating with the few people I safely can. However, you can only watch so many YouTube videos before you need something else to do. So, I have books. Some of them are ones they banned a few months back. Ones with transgender characters or genderqueer characters. Anything that showed people not acting in traditional gender roles. So basically, any piece of literature worth reading at this point. I had quite a few of those. They're slowly making their way down to me through various groups. People who aren't fully willing to harbor a fugitive, but want to help us in some way. They drop off supplies to houses under the guise of being friendly neighbors. Things hidden in baking dishes of food. Sometimes I get a little bit of whatever food with the stuff. Those are good days. I have my knitting now, too. The scarf is really coming along. Although, I might need some more yarn soon. And I have this book from my college days. They promised to bring me another one soon, too. But this one is good enough for now. I wanted to be a nurse before. I wanted to work in an emergency room and help people at their lowest point in life. Maybe I'll still get to someday. That'd be nice. I'd still like to help people if I can. For anyone watching this, the date is June 26, 2025. It has been 8 weeks since U.S. legislators voted almost unanimously to force transgender people to detransition, or else be arrested. I'm leaving soon, hopefully. Searches are becoming more frequent in my area lately, and the network wants to get me out of here and into my next way station on my way to Europe. I'm trying to make light of this situation. I don't know why. All the news reports are getting more violent slowly, stories of people getting thrown out of their homes and into vans. I don't actually know if they're really being arrested or just taken. No one does. All we know is that they get put into the van and they never come back. So it seems like it's time for me to leave. I managed to get a larger bag, and I'll put as much as I can in it. I have a little bit of money left to make my way through checkpoints. I just have to decide what's coming with me. Anyways, I should probably do that instead of watching the news come in from everyone who's disappearing. That's not going to help me get the nerve for any of this. For anyone watching this, the date is July 3rd, 2025. It has been 9 weeks since U.S. legislators voted almost unanimously to force transgender people to detransition, or else be arrested. Tomorrow is the 4th of July, and I won't be here to see it. That used to mean a lot to me. I loved cooking stuff on a grill and setting off fireworks and getting burned, even though one year I got a huge chunk of glass through my foot. I don't know why I liked fireworks so much. I think they were some sign of hope to me, this bright and colorful light in the sky. The noise never bothered me, even though most loud noises do. I would get up as high as I could and watch the fireworks explode in the sky and our neighbors' backyards. You could see them for miles. I miss it. Maybe I'll see it again one day. I don't completely know what I'm going to find when I leave. Am I going to find the world I left behind, just speaking a different language? Is it going to become the same as this one? I hope not. I hope there's enough people out there that still think it's wrong to force this, that still believe that people should be able to be who they are. Maybe it's just me believing too much that humans are good again, though. I hope it isn't. I hope there are people out there waiting. I hope someone's coming.